20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, a Little Classics book. Captain Nemo was a brilliant man and a great inventor. He was passionate about science and technology, but was also a private man, frequently disappointed with the world around him, wishing above to isolate himself. Captain Nemo eventually designed the perfect solution to this problem. Using his vast knowledge and the utmost secrecy, Captain Nemo engineered a fantastic submarine equipped with the latest technology. The futuristic vessel could navigate the deepest oceans to discover unknown aquatic territory. Captain Nemo called his submarine the Nautilus and set off to explore the salty seas. As time passed, people on land began to hear rumors of lost ships carried out to sea by an enormous destructive sea monster. Sailors were afraid of the monster, and soon everyone wanted to find the beast. But what was it? A sea serpent? A giant narwhal? No one knew for certain, except for Captain Nemo. He was using the Nautilus to destroy his enemies. An expedition was formed to try to locate the mysterious creature. On a ship named the Abraham Lincoln, 3 brave volunteers signed up. Ned Land, a Canadian master harpoonist, Professor Aronnax, a celebrated French biologist, and Conseil, Professor and Aronnax's faithful servant. Ned Land was excited to hunt the fearsome monster, but the professor hoped to capture and study the animal in a museum. For several months, the crew sailed, searching desperately for signs of the marine monster. Just as they were about to give up, there was a sudden uproar. "Look, there!" cried Ned. "Narwhal approaching, straight ahead!" "Prepare the harpoons! This is our chance!" replied Professor Aronnax. Ned threw the harpoon, and all at once the ship was violently struck, and the crew tumbled onto the deck. Panicked, they tried desperately to keep the Abraham Lincoln afloat, but a giant wave submerged the boat. The professor, Conseil, and Ned were tossed overboard. They swam for hours, gasping for breath, until finally they struck a hard body, maybe the back of a whale. They rested a while on the hard, smooth surface when suddenly Ned realized they were not on a whale. "Professor, this monster is made of steel." Ned was right. Without knowing it, they had taken refuge aboard the Nautilus. As they admired its polished metal exterior, Captain Nemo appeared with a few mysterious men. Without explaining why, the men led the professor, Ned, and Conseil down into the submarine. They soon discovered that Captain Nemo was responsible for all the inexplicable shipwrecks. "You have learned my secret," Captain Nemo told them. "Now you must stay on my vessel and never leave." "Great heavens!" exclaimed Ned. "What's to become of us?" "You may move about freely on board the Nautilus," said Captain Nemo, "but you must never try to escape." "Well, what about our friends and family?" Ned asked. "These are my conditions," replied the captain. Ned shook his head. He couldn't believe it. "I cannot promise that I won't try to escape," he finally said. Ned returned to his cabin, more depressed than ever. As the days and months passed, Captain Nemo and Professor Aronnax found they had much in common. Captain Nemo admired the professor's scientific mind, and the biologist respected the technological prowess of the Nautilus. "This is a marvelous machine, Captain," said Aronnax. "You haven't even seen it all yet," replied Nemo. One day, Nemo invited the three companions to an underwater hunt near the island of Crespo. Ned Land refused, still angry at being held captive, but Aronnax and Conseil gladly accepted. Eager to test out the diving suits on the sea floor, they quickly dressed in the diving gear and followed Nemo out of the submarine. The professor and Conseil were speechless. The sun sparkled on the fins of the multicolored fish and lit up a rainbow of coral reefs. They walked through fine sand and murky mud, past rocks covered in seaweed and littered with seashells. Captain Nemo hunted a giant sea otter. When Ned found out what he had missed, he was sorry he hadn't joined them. Navigating through every sea and ocean, Captain Nemo, his crew, and their prisoners traveled thousands of leagues as they made their way around the world. One morning, the captain decided to bring the three companions on an underwater walk to harvest some oysters. While doing so, they discovered a giant oyster that weighed nearly 600 pounds. They couldn't believe their eyes when they spotted the magnificent shining pearl nestled inside the shell. But on the way back to the submarine, nothing went as planned. An enormous shark blocked their way. Captain Nemo advanced, spear in hand, ready for combat. A tremendous battle ensued. Nemo pierced the belly of the beast, but a violent blow from the fin threw him to the ground. Heroically, Ned Land stepped forward and finished off the shark with his harpoon, tinting the waters red. When they returned to the Nautilus, Captain Nemo thanked Ned profusely. The submarine continued its voyage. When it finally reached the Atlantic Ocean, Captain Nemo proposed another underwater excursion, but this time at night. He wanted to show the professor the fabled sunken city of Atlantis. When they arrived, Professor Aronnax could barely believe his eyes. Ancient walls, crumbling columns rose from the ocean floor as if they were on land. He was mesmerized by the extraordinary sight and spent hours contemplating the submerged ancient kingdom. While the professor enjoyed his underwater adventures, as the days passed on the Nautilus, Ned Land longed for freedom. One day, while Ned dreamed of escape, the submarine suddenly lurched to a halt and started jerking to and fro. "Giant squid!" cried Captain Nemo. "We must get to the surface to attack." The professor was terrified, but Ned confidently grabbed his harpoon, ready for action. The battle was rough. The squid attacked from all sides at once. The first mate was seized by an enormous tentacle and carried out to sea. Ned nearly had the same fate, but at the last minute, Captain Nemo saved him from the giant arm with a quick thrust of his spear. They were victorious, but not without loss. The crew departed with heavy hearts, and Ned was overcome with homesickness. He had to escape. The calm after the battle did not last long. Only a few months later, the crew suddenly heard a loud explosion. It was a cannon. The Nautilus was under attack, and Captain Nemo was slowly rising the submarine to the surface. Ned saw his opportunity to escape once and for all. Ned crept to the bridge of the submarine and waved a handkerchief to signal the enemy ship. "I've got to get away from here. Please send me a sign," begged Ned. But just then, Captain Nemo shoved him back inside the Nautilus. "Wretched creature," roared Captain Nemo. "That battleship is our worst enemy." Captain Nemo was white with rage. Now he was determined to destroy the battleship at all costs. "You will taste my vengeance, ship of misfortune." The captain engaged in battle. With tears in their eyes, Ned, Professor Aronnax, and Conseil could do nothing but watch the ship sink. They decided it was time to get off the Nautilus as soon as possible. From then on, the atmosphere on the Nautilus was fraught with tension. While Captain Nemo navigated along the coast of Norway, the three companions finally agreed to steal a canoe and paddle to the land. On the night of their departure, Professor Aronnax caught a glimpse of Captain Nemo hunched over his organ. The captain was lost in thought. He had never looked so miserable. The professor was torn. Should he really abandon Captain Nemo? He thought fondly of the many deep-sea adventures they had, but he knew he could not stay. Outside, Ned loosened the bolts that bound the canoe to the Nautilus. Just as the professor jumped in, a huge maelstrom appeared. In a second, the Nautilus was sucked down to the depths of the sea. Ned, the professor, and Conseil managed to get away just in the nick of time. When they washed up on a desert island, the three companions were wild with relief to be alive. They had survived the maelstrom, but did the Nautilus? Professor Aronnax scanned the horizon for signs of the submarine. Did the mysterious Captain Nemo drown in his submarine? Would he one day reappear? No one knows for sure. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and if you subscribe, you'll never miss another story. Bye!